Jonah Gueno, local musician from Houston, Texas, former vocalist of Beyond All Deception, and you can check out my interviews on Bending Reality Magazine or online at www.bendingrealitymag.com.
Good evening, folks. This is Brandon Morningstar. Tonight, I'm getting a nice honor and privilege to talk to a local musician in the Texas scene. His name is Jonah Gueno. Hi, Jonah. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Why don't you tell my readers a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Hey, yeah, I'm a local musician here in Houston, Texas. I'm originally from New Orleans. My family moved here after Hurricane Katrina, and we just ended up staying. I did vocals for a band called Beyond All Deception for about a year before the band unfortunately broke up a couple months back. I'm currently working on guitar, getting guitar lessons. I plan to eventually start another project with that.
Very, very cool. What would you say the music scene is different from New Orleans to Houston?
Well, since I was a bit younger, I didn't really get involved with the music scene within New Orleans. I didn't really get into that until I'd say about 2012 here in Houston. I'd met up with my buddy Shelby. He did vocals for a band called Fallacy that is kind of on hiatus at the moment. And he's doing vocals for a big name band out here now called Green as Emerald. I met him when I was at San Jacinto College, and he kind of got me into the local scene. I went and saw his band, and I just kind of networked out from there. I went and saw the bands that I saw that night at their respective shows at other venues, and I just kind of branched out and checked out a bunch of local bands out here. I picked up the nickname Front Row Joe along the way, just because I went to so many shows and people would always see me. Back then I had a big afro, and that's how everyone would recognize me. They'd see that up at the front of the stage.
Um,
Yeah.
would it be a fair assumption to say that the Houston area is a hotbed for local music?
Oh, absolutely. There's a huge local scene out for metal, especially. I haven't really gotten involved in the other music scenes like country or rock, but I know they exist out here as well. But the metal scene is absolutely big. There's tons of bands that are all very supportive of each other. Lots of shows at different venues through spring, Calpart, further south, and even at some of the bigger venues like Warehouse Live and occasionally House of Blues.
Hmm.
And the Houston local metal scene is pretty
Um,
good.
yeah, I'm originally from the Dallas area, so I know that as it's cliche, but everybody says everything's better in Texas, and they ain't kidding.
Yeah.
How about you tell me and the readers a little bit about your musical influences when you were part of a band? Who influenced you a
when
lot?
I what when I was with the band,
Yes, and still now, who influences you now also?
yeah, I'd say I guess some big vocal influences would be Randy from Lamb of God, Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. Those are a couple of my favorite vocalists. Josh Middleton, the vocalist and guitarist from Silosis. He's a big influence on both vocals and now guitar since I'm taking that up. I really take a lot of influence from that band. I don't really stick to one genre or subgenre, I guess, of metal in particular. I'll listen to prog, thrash, a little bit of death metal, just kind of listen to a little bit of everything, and just getting influences from major national and international acts, and then also from all the local bands out here. And, I'm enjoying the show, but I'm also taking notes. I'm watching what they're doing up on stage and just kind of absorbing it all, just to try and grow as a musician myself.
Okay. Who are some of your local favorites?
Kind of hard to pick. Um, there's so many bands I've seen over the years. I guess my buddy Shelby I mentioned earlier, he's been a big influence. He's given me a lot of pointers and whatnot. My first show, he let me use his microphone actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've taken influence from him. There's a Nick from a local band called Carry the Storm. They're another big name band out here. I've seen them plenty of times. My buddy Jeff from Black 13, my friend Zach from a band called Black Standard. Yeah, there's just so many bands I've seen out here, and I've seen them all several times. I, try and learn a little bit each time.
Right. And with each band, there's a different style to pick up on and take good notes from because it's with the diversity, it really helps you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some of them, I guess the majority of the ones I've seen are primarily screamed vocals, but there's some that do a little bit of cleans, or some that do all cleans. That I just take influence from that as well. With my band, I did almost entirely screamed vocals. There were just a few clean parts here and there, but I didn't really incorporate too much of that into our songs. But I plan to do more of that with future music that I intend to either write on my own or maybe start another project and do something with that.
Okay. Um, Along the lines of your influences musically, if you had to pick out like maybe three or four, if you could share stage with them, who would they be?
Um, I guess I would have to pick definitely Silosis would be one of them. My favorite band, it's not a metal band, Coheed and Cambria. I pretty much died to be able to play with them. The third one, hmm, maybe Gojira. That's another metal band that I really respect and just blown away by. I'd love to be able to share the stage with them. That would be pretty awesome.
Okay. When when you've not been in bands and everything, in this downtime, in addition to learning your guitar and stuff, what are you doing for fun?
At the moment, I'm really just I haven't been out too much. I've got a lot going on in my personal life, but yeah, I've been trying to learn the guitar. I also play around on bass a bit and video games here and there. I'm also going to be doing guest vocals at a show coming up. So I'm practicing the song that my buddy Matt let me choose from that. He let me pick which song I'd like to do. So I picked that, and I'm learning the vocals, and I'm figuring out where I want things and practicing for that as well.
Okay. Um, Vocationally speaking, not that I'm trying to pry, but since we both share blue collar work ethic, I'd like to ask that question. What do you do when you're not revolved around music? What do you do for a living?
Oh, okay, yes. I'm the manager at a local restaurant slash donut shop out here in Pearland, where I live close to.
Okay. If you could compare your vocal style to one musician, who would you say that person is?
I guess with how I try to write my vocals, I don't with Beyond All Deception, it wasn't really a progressive metal band, but it had progressive song structure with a lot of the newer stuff that we had been writing. So with my vocal flow, I didn't really try to have it be first verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, or anything like that. The song structure kind of just kept changing throughout the song. So I guess my vocal flow, I write more like someone who does, like in say an instrument, like a guitar, bass, and vocals at the same time. Because if you notice, bands that have vocalists that do only vocals, and then ones that had do a guitar or something and vocals, their vocal flow is very different. It you just gotta kind of listen to it to hear the difference, I guess. But I kind of write more like a person who does guitar or something and the vocals at the same time. I don't try to repeat phrases. I try to make sure it just keeps going without sounding repetitive or redundant or anything like that.
Right.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I guess in terms of like I guess sound, I'd say it sounds kind of like how you'd hear with Lamb of God stuff, but just how the vocal flow and how it goes along with the music, I'd compare it more to something like Gojira or Silosis. Like I said, those are some of my influences. I kind of write my lyrics
right.
in a similar vocal style.
Well, I can tell you that we shared those three bands in common with enjoyment. So I'm totally with you in agreement with what you said about those bands. My next question is, what's the one thing you miss about being part of a band that's right now?
Yes, what I miss the most is really just just hanging out with those guys and writing music together. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think about it pretty much every day. I really miss writing and doing shows with those guys. We had our practice space. We had it where it was hooked up through headphones through a soundboard. That's where we would do all of the writing and whatnot to get everything precise. And then we had our live practice space at another place, just to be able to play it out in a live environment. Because it's different when you're playing it with headphones. The space where we had our headphone practice, that was at our drummer's house in his garage.
Mhm.
It was just fun hanging out there, writing music, joking around, getting practice done. I really miss it all, but stuff happens.
Right. Well, the way you describe your future and your drive, I have no doubt once it's time for you to be back in the band that you'll get there and you'll achieve what you want to achieve.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I I totally am picking up on a very strong drive to succeed. The, like almost every musician that I've interviewed recently, that same blue collar approach to it. Like you know where you want to go. It's just a matter of getting there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Uh, my last question, and it's probably the toughest one I'll ask in this whole interview. Um, if I were a major label record executive and you were trying to convince me that I need to sign your band, how would you say? What would you say to me to say, okay, my band's worth it?
I guess I would try and push the fact that our sound was, I mean, I felt was a bit different than some of the other bands out here. Since, like I said before, we had a progressive song structure without it actually being really progressive metal. It was, it had progressive aspects, it had heavy aspects. Yeah, I guess it just pushed the fact that felt like we had a bit of a unique sound going. I guess that's what I would use to try and argue my point.
Right, and like again, I'm definitely picking up on that vibe. That that's been a pretty common answer with a lot of bands. That just listen to it, and I won't have to say too much. And that's basically what I'm getting from you, and that would definitely seal the deal for me. That's just as long as it has that it and that one hook that just you get one good hook in an album or in a song, you can make the rest just flow like water.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's basically how I can pick up on your stuff. So, other than the guitar playing and a little bit of bass stuff, what's next for you musically? What do you see going on for you in the next, say, 6 months or so?
once I, once I feel a little bit more comfortable with guitar, I plan to get into recording, writing and recording some of my own stuff. I plan to end up picking up Pro Tools and just in trying to get some sound recording gear together and eventually just write some of my own stuff and put it out there online across different media and just try and get my name out there and maybe eventually get good enough to try and become maybe like a session guitarist or something like that.
Right,
Just get my at least my name out there, even if it's not part of a band. Just have my name out there
right,
as a musician for any sort of project that may come up.
right. Well, Jonah, I want to thank you for your time tonight for this interview. I do appreciate it. I mean, your story is really, it definitely has elements that will make a good read for the readers when it gets set up and put through. And I do, as well as my magazine staff, we do wish you the best. And this isn't a one and done thing. I just want you to know that this is basically the first of several because myself, I like to talk to musicians every so often, even if it's once a week or once every other week, just to see, hey, what's going on, you know? I mean, something new may have come up in that week or two that they
Yeah,
might have news. And so I just want you to know that up front. It's not a one and done because I love the Texas music scene, even though I don't get to see it or hear it personally as much because the only stuff I get to hear now is stuff that's sent to me. And once I'm able to travel more, I'm going to be back in my home area a lot because I'm going to be hitting Texas hard because so many bands in Texas have said that I need to get my ass home and check everything out. So that's what I gotta do because I'm true to my roots. I mean, there's so much local music in the Dallas area now, and another thing too that I've noticed, from what I've been told, a lot of FM stations in Texas are sort of afraid or gun shy to play local music, and I'm thinking, why? Because there's so much good out there, and it's sad. It's
Yeah.
but FM radio is just, I guess, you could say they're, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm just saying they don't get it. They know what they have to play because that's what they're required to play. Now with online radio, I've been in the business for about 4 years, so I know it pretty well. And with online, we can play what we want when we want. There's no set time, there's no set song, there's no set artist, there's no format sheet. You play what you
Oh
want
yeah.
when you want, and you have all that creative control. So
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
once you get back into the scene and whatnot, and if I'll be eager to hear what you put out when you put out your solo stuff, and if I can help it any way to get you to where you need to be, like if pointing in the right direction or put you in contact with somebody or whatever, I'll be happy to do it. I mean, I know a couple I know a couple managers of that are good people and good Christian people that wouldn't take advantage and would really help you out to get your name heard and noticed.
Oh yeah. I really appreciate all this. Appreciate you having me on too.
Well, it's like I said, it's that whole blue collar thing. That's what I guess that's what got me into DJing all the years ago that I did because I've been doing it freelance for 23 some years now, and I just
Wow.
I'm very passionate about music, and if I can help anybody succeed by getting them in the direction of, even if it's a low budget producer that can at least get them started, that's my goal, is to get everybody at least started. If unless they're already started, they've sort of been spinning their wheels, they need to get to the next step. Maybe I can help them get to that next step because that's just how I am. I mean, I was grateful enough to get I wouldn't say big break, but my chance to be an online radio DJ. I was like blown away. I was like, this is like a dream. And then the Rock Asylum, when I was working there for the last year and a half, I was living out a dream of being on in the morning. And it's unfortunate that I'm not there anymore, but it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but my new gig, I'm looking forward to that because it's gonna be mainstream music, maybe one show per week because I'm only gonna be doing it on Fridays. But I've given my boss, since my bosses have given me complete control over unsigned and indie music. I plan to do at least one full indie show a month. Maybe two of my Fridays will be indie shows. I just haven't decided yet. But I know indie music is going to get a huge part of my shows.
All right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay,
For having me on again.
no problem. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.